Now that you understand how to send files and request files, we need to understand how files are organized in Pixie. Now, it's not currently possible to create a custom file or folder structure. The way that files are structured is all around different task headings. For example, if a file comes in from an email that's completely out of the blue, and Pixie saves that email to the client record, we don't know what that file belongs to, so Pixie by default will categorize that as a general file. If that same file came in through an email linked to a task, then Pixie knows specifically what that file relates to, and it will file it under the correct heading on the Files tab. So the best practice approach that you need to take is to make sure that all of your files and emails are linked to tasks, and this will allow Pixie to organize them for you. I know this might sound confusing, so let's jump into Pixie and I can show you exactly how the file management works. So if I go to a client record with some files, you'll notice that there is a structure that starts to form. We have some files here at the top that are appearing under general files. Now these are files that have either been uploaded or sent by email, and Pixie doesn't know what they belong to. You can see that these files aren't currently linked to tasks, and you can see that we have a cash flow file and a bookkeeping file. Now what I want to do is show you how you can start to put some kind of structure into this, so that instead of everything appearing under general files, they appear under headings that are linked to the tasks they relate to. So if I go to my email, you'll see here that I've got an email containing a file that was attached for bookkeeping. What I'm able to do is to link this email to an existing task, and that will mean that the file will therefore appear under the correct heading. So if I click here to add the email to the existing task, I'll find the bookkeeping task that it relates to, and then link the email to the task. I can now go into the task, and you'll see that the file is linked here. If I now go back to the client record, you'll also notice that the file is now under the bookkeeping heading and not the general files heading. So what about the cash flow one? If I go back to my email again, you can see here that I've got a file for cash flow. Well, what if there currently isn't a task that's in progress for this particular file? Well, one of the things that you could do is to create a task from this email. And by doing that, we'll create a task as a result. So I'll click here to create the task, and then we can view the open task and maybe even rename it at the top. You'll also notice that the file is saved here, and we'll link it to the correct client record. If we now go through to that client record and go to the Files tab, you'll notice that the cash flow file is now appearing under a custom task heading, and the task is called cash flow. If you ever want to manually upload files to avoid them appearing under the general files heading, then I would recommend uploading files through a particular task. So for example, if I wanted to upload some files here, I can click Upload Files and upload files into this section. By doing that, if I go back to the client record and refresh this page, you'll notice that instead of them appearing under general files, they appear under the correct heading on that particular client record. So hopefully now you understand a bit more about how the file structure works in Pixie. So I'd recommend sending a few files and playing around to get a feel for how you can keep your files organized.